Hey everybody. So just a guy having fun here, and wanted to make a video series about my activism and what got me started. So as you're probably aware on my channel, I am a private investigator for several decades, about 30 years now. So I've always kind of had an interest in law and putting bad guys away and things like that. Then in 2018, something happened and kind of changed a lot of things for me. And what happened was my son was threatened to be shot and killed at school, and the student that made that threat also made threats to come back and shoot up the school. So when that happened, good old father rage kicked in, investigator mode kicks in, and I decided to make some change. And took about 18 months, but we did it. We got a law changed here in Arizona to where it went from, if somebody threatened to shoot and kill your child here in school in Arizona, and a teacher overheard that threat, that teacher had no obligation to say anything to anybody. And the way the law ends up working out was that only the school board had an obligation to say anything to anybody. However, that teacher didn't tell the school board, they could just keep that whole thing inside the four walls of that school, and nobody would hear anything. Not acceptable to me. So I went on a mission to get that changed. And it was just one guy. It was just me. But I'm tenacious. So what this series is going to show you is how I went about changing that law, and what my strategy is when dealing with government and government accountability. I'm not saying that my way is the right way. I'm not saying that maybe your way is the wrong way. Not at all. We're all individuals, and we will handle ourselves as we see fit, and as long as you're not supporting violence or hurting other people or taking other people's property, we really don't care what you do. But when it comes to our government, our public servants, they need to be held accountable. Whether they're police officers, politicians, or in this case, teachers and school administrators and school boards. So we went at it. So this is going to be a long series. There's going to be several videos. It's going to be on the playlist How I Changed the Law. And this is going to be the first introduction video. And by the time this video I posted on Facebook was posted, I'd already taken several actions that I'll post videos on. And a lot of this is audio only, but my point in doing this is to show everybody one person can make a change. It only takes one. And if you're diligent enough, you make enough noise, and you come not just screaming about the problem, but bring solutions, you can make change. You have to be rational about it. You have to have a plan. And so I record everything, especially when I'm dealing with government. And I'm going to take you on this journey. Like I said, some of them are going to be long. I think the longest one's going to be about an hour and a half. And that was the interview with the Arizona Department of Education and my son. The other ones are probably going to be around about 30 minutes. And they're interviews with some of the school administrators, law enforcement, senators, all the way up to and including the vote, where we got that law changed. And now, under Arizona Revised Statute 15341 and 15512. If a teacher, an administrator, or faculty member hears or has knowledge of a threat of serious violence or death against a student in a school, they are legally obligated to say something. So here we go. Enjoy the series. I hope you learned something. Please like, share, and subscribe. All that other stuff, you know. Learn your laws, record your government. Thanks for following the series. I appreciate it.
In Parkland, we have told you about several threats against schools here in the Valley. Mountain Trail Middle School, that's in Paradise Valley, that's one of them. The parents say school officials did not alert police. At a school board meeting late last night, two fathers took the microphone saying their children were named in that threat, and a parent called Phoenix police. Both dads say school leaders haven't done enough to send a message.
Together, the parents, the schools, the district, and law enforcement must ensure these outrageous mistakes never happen again. This response to a threat on students' lives is not only disappointing, it is extremely appalling.
We do have a response from the Paradise Valley School District saying that the school was aware of the threat and they're conducting an internal investigation. They do that when a parent contacts police. Now, you can read the entire response, how they handled this situation, on abc15.com right now.
Students not reported. Now there's a push to hold schools accountable to make sure every effort is made to make your child safe at school. ABC 15's Jamie Warren shows us how one parent has made it his mission to make a change.
It's called House Bill 2119, and it's making its way here through the state legislature after a parent says his child was named in a shooting threat at Mountain Trail Middle School.
Nobody from the school made an effort to contact the parents.
And that was John Goodnow in March of 2018. He says not only were parents not notified, but police confirm they weren't either.
There was no policy or procedure in place for these to even get reported.
So Goodnow taking the issue to State Senator Nancy Bartow, who drafted House Bill 2119 and presented it to the Public Safety Committee.
The need for direction may be there for other schools as well.
Right now, there isn't a specific protocol.
And there really isn't any kind of, say, penalty or any kind of teeth in terms of holding someone criminally accountable if they do not report this.
And that's what this new bill would deal with. School administrators would have to contact police and parents of the students involved. The school board would have to enforce those procedures, and if any of this is ignored, they could get in trouble. The legislation doesn't say what that trouble would be.
It's the safety of our children, and I just think there needs to be a strong penalty in there if they do not comply.
If you think we could add a penalty successfully, I think I'm certainly open to that.
For Goodnow, he wants school officials to face criminal charges.
If we as parents don't hold our schools, our school boards, our elected officials accountable, then nobody else will do it.
The bill is now headed to the House floor for review. We'll be staying on top of this one and let you know if and when it passes. Reporting from the Arizona State Capitol, Jamie Warren, ABC 15, Arizona.
Jamie, thank you. And to show you just how much gray area there is under the current law, last year the principal at a Globe Middle School was charged for failing to report an online threat. The district said they worked with the police department to hold students and staff accountable.
A third man.
All right, so I want to talk about what happened at Mountain Trail Middle School on February 20th and my perspective on it. So on February 20th, if you haven't heard, there was a death shooting threat at Mountain Trail Middle School, where a student made a threat against my son and two other kids, as well as statements about shooting up the school. Cliff Notes version is this. Teacher overheard the threat. I told the kids, stop talking about that. I don't want to do the paperwork. A brave student went to the assistant principal, reported the threat, was interviewed for, my understanding, over an hour, and the assistant principal also interviewed the accused student. The assistant principal made a decision on his own not to call any of the victim parents not to call the district for guidance, and not to call the police. He didn't even call the student's parent, who he interviewed for over an hour. That same teacher, after the threat was made, broke out puppets to the class to explain to them why it was their fault they were threatened to be killed. The very next day, he told my son that he was in this situation because he created it. A couple days later, after my son was called to the office to speak with a counselor specifically about this incident, that same teacher told my son that he'll blame him for anything he wants. The school sent out a very misleading email about the threat, saying that they were in contact with police in the district office, and insinuating that it was a social media threat, which wasn't true. And the school did not contact the police department. I confirmed that with the Phoenix Police Department, who had no calls for service on that day to the school. I confirmed that with the assistant principal himself, as well as the director of student services for Mountain Trail Middle School. Now, I went down to talk to the principal. He danced around most of my questions. And as a matter of fact, backtrack a little bit, my wife called, because we hadn't received a call from anybody from the school. My wife called the school and didn't get a return phone call. I had called the district, and finally, miraculously, after I called the district, my wife gets a call back. And it's the assistant principal, who my wife asked, why haven't I got a phone call? And the assistant principal lied to her, told her that we couldn't find the number. Well, he had the phone number from the message that she left. He had my phone number and her phone number on my son's emergency contact card, and then proceeded to get what she perceived to be hostile, stating that he was questioning her integrity, or his integrity. And, well, of course she would have. He just lied to her. Now it's 48 hours since my son was threatened to be killed. The student who reported the threat told her parent, and it's that parent that called the police department and got them involved. And I firmly believe that had that parent not initiated the police contact, this entire incident would have been swept under the rug. And there's some issues here that, folks, this isn't a gun control issue, right? This is a school issue. And I've done the research, or some research, on the laws here in Arizona about that. And there's a specific Arizona Revised Statute 15341 that says they're supposed to take action, and they're supposed to contact the appropriate school officials. I've been told multiple times by the administration that they're not investigators. Yet they made the decision on their own. This assistant principal made this decision on his own, not to seek guidance from the district, not to call a parent or law enforcement. And I hate this phrase, right? But in this day and age, it's changing. And we saw in Florida that there were so many red flags that were missed. And we can't tolerate that from our schools, that they're making the decisions whether a threat of death or shooting is serious. That's not their job. That's the job of law enforcement. And I'm really disappointed in a lot of that there's not a bigger outcry over this issue, that the school took no action to keep our kids safe. and they continue that. There's some things going on at this school still to this day that have me very concerned as to how they're safeguarding our children from threats. I've reached out to the major networks here locally here in Phoenix. ABC News was brave enough to give this story some coverage this last week, and I am grateful for that. But you know, the rest of the media, it appears, would rather cover the story of my son's dead body than the preemptive shortcomings of our school. So we have to be vocal as parents and community members. I don't think that the district provided the school with the tools and the guidance necessary for them to handle this. You know, I think if there was clear guidelines for the school administration in instances of, you know, death threats and shooting threats, this would have been handled differently. But I think that they were at a loss. And because they were at a loss, and without that structure and guidelines from the district or even the state as to what they're supposed to do, they dropped the ball. And they let the parents, and more importantly the kids, down, so that this threat could be assessed properly by the appropriate school officials and law enforcement. And as I did the research on the law, I'm finding that this Arizona Revised Statute, which is law, but it's an administrative law. It's not a criminal law. So it's going to be an uphill battle for there to be accountability. And I think that that's, you know, part of this discussion that we as a community need to have is, you know, we can talk about hardening the target, right? You know, metal detectors in schools, more student resource officers, arming teachers, or, you know, all these other measures. But when there's a concern or a threat of death or a shooting, do these schools know what to do? Clearly not in this case. And when they drop the ball, what is the accountability? Who's going to be held accountable? Now, I filed a complaint against the assistant principal and that teacher with the Arizona Department of Education. And from everything I can tell, they are taking this very seriously. And they're moving that investigation forward. But if they don't have the laws on the books or the policies in place for accountability, what good is it? What good is the investigation going to do? You know, are they going to remove the assistant principal or the teacher from the school and put them in another school so they can be a problem for somebody else? That's not the answer. I don't know what the answer is. You know, just because we, you know, this kid was allowed to return to school, and is there a policy that allows that? Is there a law that allows that? I went to file a restraining order, and the judge told me they can't make him not come back to school. And I understand when people their hands are tied, they want to help. But if we don't know about these shortcomings or the issues that the schools have, where they can't take action that they want to take, how do we fix that? We fix that by making noise. We fix that by speaking out. And that's what I'm asking. I'm asking for other parents to speak out, to make noise. I have done everything that I can, and I will continue to do everything I can to affect change. But I can't do it alone. I can't do it alone. You know, like I said, I've reached out to the media. I stood out in front of the school and handed out flyers, over 100 of them, to parents, letting them know that there was a board meeting, explaining my understanding of the incidents, and in the hopes that we could pack a board meeting, be vocal, express our concern, let them know that we as a community are outraged by what happened. And some parents did turn up, and I want to thank every parent that came out and every parent that's reached out to me. But there should be more. There's over 700 kids in this school. You know, that's 1,400 parents. And we couldn't pack an auditorium with 100 parents. And that was not right. I will do everything that I can to protect my family and and those around my family. And if I don't do everything possible to make sure that these incidents are handled properly going forward, and I didn't do everything I could, and God forbid something happened to my son or any other kids because I didn't do everything in my power to affect change, I would never forgive myself. So I've reached out to also my senator, Senator Nancy Barstow at the Arizona State Legislature. I emailed her with my story. I have not received a response back yet. I followed that up with another email asking if she had heard the story, read the story, and requesting a meeting with her so that we could discuss what can be done at a state level to not only provide the guidance to the school administrations so that they have a good understanding that they need to take action when there's a death threat or a shooting threat, but also to find out if there's a way that we can change the legislation for accountability when there's just gross negligence on behalf of an administrator that doesn't take these threats seriously. So again, I'm just asking every parent that watches this, please share this, have a discussion, ask questions, make noise. Is your school, is your kid's school ready for this? What are they going to do when your child is threatened to be killed? Are they going to call you? Are they going to call the district to seek guidance? You know, are they going to call law enforcement? My son's school didn't. And I fear for his safety every day he goes to school now. And I have to answer to him when he's got questions. And when he comes home and says that, you know, a teacher didn't want to do the paperwork, breaks out puppets to tell him it's his fault, tells him he's in this situation because he created it, and tells him that he's gonna blame him for everything that he wants. And I gotta listen to that as a parent, and it breaks my heart. It fills me with rage that the school and this teacher didn't think that this was serious. You know, and the parents have to get text messages from the kids. Can you come pick me up from school? I don't want to be here today because of what's going on here at the school and the aftermath of all of this. And I just want everybody to know I'm doing everything I can to get my story out there. Please share this. Please have conversations with your kids. let them know that it's okay to speak up, no matter how insignificant they may feel it is. Talk to them. Let them know. Have those conversations with your school administration. If there was a death threat or a shooting threat at the school, what's the protocol? Because this school certainly didn't meet my expectation. My expectation was a phone call and somebody telling me, Mr. Parent, I understand your concern. Your son was just threatened to be killed. We're going to look into this. We're going to get to the bottom of it. And if we made mistakes, we're going to fix it. And that wasn't done. I even went to the Director of Student Services for the district and tried to ask questions to him. And when I tried to ask questions, he told me, I don't want to be interrogated. And when I asked if there was going to be an after-action review of this situation at a district level to ensure these mistakes don't happen again, he wouldn't answer the question directly. I had to ask him twice and still couldn't get a straight answer. He wanted to talk about fire drills. He wanted to talk about, they do after-action drills with fire drills and lockdown drills and, active shooter drills. But those are all reactive measures, important reactive measures, but reactive. My question is, what are the school districts doing to test the administration? To be preventative, preemptive. Do the school administrations know what to do? Student comes in, says that another student made a death threat or a shooting threat. Do they know what to do? Other than just talk to a couple of kids. I've heard multiple times that they're not investigators, and they're not. There's professionals for that. And if our laws aren't strong enough to hold them accountable, then we have to change them. And who's going to change them? The school can't change the law. The district can change policy, but they can't change the law. And our legislatures aren't going to know that the laws need to be changed unless we're vocal, unless we as the parents in the community speak out. So please speak out, share this, and talk to your kids. Talk to your schools. Sorry about that. Share this with your kids. Talk to them. Talk to your schools, and start this conversation. As parents, we need to. We can't just sit back and be silent and expect our administrations, our districts, to take care of our kids. We're the parents. We are the ones responsible for the safety of our children. And unless we make sure that our schools are doing their job, then we're not doing our job as parents.